What's going on, guys? JFC here. Today we've got the final edition of the best players in FIFA. This summer for playing has actually been pretty fun. Honestly, a lot of great FUTTIES cards, a lot of good gameplay objectives as well. So it's kind of just been a good time playing this summer, which has been a little rare in the past. But in this video, we're going to talk about the absolute best players because right now, every card is so good that it's a little difficult to differentiate between a 98 Rashford and 97 Ginola, right? Is there a huge difference between them? Not really, but I'm going to do my best to try and tell you guys what I think those differences are right now. What cards I think are just the best in the game. So we're going to first get started with goalkeepers, even though yes, goalkeepers can kind of be a little bit hit or miss. Are there some better than others? Maybe, but most of them kind of play the same. I think there are 4 goalkeepers that are like S tier goalkeepers. I think it's Alisson, Ter Stegen, Oblak, and Courtois, and I think it's in this order. I think it's Courtois first, Oblak second, Ter Stegen third, and Alisson fourth in my opinion. But like I said, goalkeepers can just be very hit or miss. When you're playing a top player, you're probably not going to have many things saved because they're going to finish almost everything. So now we're going to get into the other positions. I'm going to just basically show the top 3 or 4 that I think are the top tier meta in the position because almost every card that comes out is usable, right? Yeah, I've done a pretty good job of that. So I want to try and differentiate the top tier cards from the rest of the pack. So here are my top 4 right backs I think are the best right backs in the game right now. Mine, I play a little bit more defensive at my right back. My left back actually attacks more. Wilfried Zaha is an absolute machine defensively. I love this Wilfried Zaha card 100%. He's probably my favorite right back in the game this year. You have Dumfries, who's also very good defensively. He's not a guy you're going to want to go forward with a lot. Because even though he's 6'2 and he does have high dribbling right now, 84 agility, 86 balance isn't going to be, you know, the 99s like there are right now. Dumfries is definitely a defensive right back. Klaus, though, you can go forward with for sure. High work rates. He's obviously great in FIFA. And then last but not least is Michael Ballack. I think he's fantastic as a right back. He's a little bit more defensive. He has amazing passing, and you notice that right away too. So I think those are my 4 favorite right backs. There's actually not a ton of right backs to use this year, which is a little weird. So I've got 6 center backs I think are probably the S tier center backs. There are so many great ones though that I might be missing a couple that I'm like not thinking of. I looked through all of them to try to make sure I didn't miss anybody. These are the ones for sure though that I think are S tier. Konate is, you know, he's insane. 6'4", medium high, basically max pace defending and physical with an anchor. I mean, you don't need to say much about him. This is one of the few cards that is not going to be a shapeshifter or a FUTTIES in this video. This is a Team of the Year Van Dijk. He is still absolutely S tier. This is an incredible card. FUTTIES heroes Lucio, you might say obviously, but the point is that Lucio gets insane animations and it will separate himself from the rest of the pack. Another card with this exact same stats, and it was, say, Diego Carlos. He actually has somewhat similar pace defending and physical to this card. Is nowhere near the level of Lucio. Lucio just has those animations. Koulibaly Premium FUTTIES SBC is an incredible card, and I deeply regret not completing him. And we also have FUTTIES Araujo, who is an insane center back. His World Cup Hat to Glory card was one of my favorites of the year. And then also an honorable mention here is this Becker card, okay? I've used him for 211 games. I don't know what it is about him, but if I take him out of my team, my defense gets worse. And I can't figure out why. I never thought I'd even really like this card as much as I do. He's insane. I don't know what it is. Composure's only 85, reactions 90, not like 99 juiced out. I don't know. This card's crazy. I've seen people in the comments also say a similar thing, so I'm not sure why Becker's so good, but I know for sure if I come up against a backline with 2 of those center backs in, it's the hardest backline to beat in the game, basically. Left back, I got 4 here. Now, I do think there is kind of a clear and obvious number 1 here, which I actually have not thought about most of the other positions, and that's Roberto Carlos. I think this Carlos is the best left back in the game, and I don't think it's that close, honestly. I use his Captavia card, and he is, you know, similar. He's just kind of Captavia, right? Similar to his other World Cup card, where a beast defensively, not the best going forward, but a beast defensively. And his stats obviously indicate that. And then Davies level up, which I didn't do. Davies is incredible. His team of season card is still usable. Davies definitely needs to be in there. And then FUTTIES Gosens as well. But the 5'5" is great because he's very tall. He's like strong for a left back, crazy high reactions, and the 5'5" is crazy with all those traits as well. Gosens is sick. Roberto Carlos is the best left back in the game, in my opinion. I mean, this card, I don't think any card could ever beat this guy out of my team, honestly. I think if this card came earlier in the year, he'd probably play 1,000+ games for me. He is absolutely incredible. So here are my S tier defensive midfielders. Now I'm going to get into the number 1 defensive midfielder in 1 second. Actually not on this, but these are all my S tier ones. I've loved Xabi Alonso. I'm not going to lie. When I've used him, I thought he was fantastic. He felt really nice on the ball. He's got the 5-star. He's got like all stats above 90. He is great. FUTTIES Yaya Toure. This is a card I actually haven't used. I've come up against him a few times, but because Yaya Toure is so broken in this game, I don't even need to use him to know he's S tier. Honestly, this card is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Definitely an S tier defensive midfielder. Hugo Lloris is a card that is surprising to me that he's in here. His stats are good, but not anything crazy. He's one of those goalkeepers who just is like broken in games, similar to Petr Cech, and another card that we're about to talk about in about 10 seconds here. And also Park Ji-sung, Passion Park, fantastic defensive midfielder to win the ball back for you. Very cheap as well, which is surprising. And then Marcus Llorente, SPC, great defensively. I think he's actually a little bit more underwhelming going forward than I thought, but defensively, he does what he does best, and it's just intercept everything. It's Marcus Llorente in FIFA. That is what he does. Now, I'll be honest, all of these cards, every single one of them for a defensive midfielder role is just not as good as this card right here. And some of you probably know who I'm going to talk about here. Some of you might not. Actually, not even on this front page with center mids. He is a 93 center mid, and he goes by the name of Milinkovic-Savic. He's 6'8", medium-high work rates, and this is the best defensive midfielder in FIFA history. I am not even going to hesitate when I make that claim, because there is no card that intercepts as much as this card does and just tackle you when it makes absolutely no sense. He's breaking the laws of physics every single game. It is the best player in the game, possibly. You could actually make an argument there's a defensive midfielder in the game this year that is the best player in FIFA. I'm not even exaggerating at all. If you have Milinkovic-Savic, you know what I mean. If you did not do him, I'm so sorry. You missed out on easily the best defensive midfielder in FIFA this year. It's not fair how good Milinkovic-Savic is. Now we're going to start with box-to-box midfielders, and here we go right here. This is probably the order they would be in, honestly. Zidane, Bellingham, Xavi Simons, Martial, and Buchanan. But Zinedine Zidane, this card's incredible. I've only used him for like one weekend league, and he's insane. Imagine a Zidane with like crazy defending, and that's what this card is. He's fantastic. Bellingham is a card that is kind of one of a kind this year. He has definitely the best midfield runs of any card. I've heard Inception talk about this too, and every time I use Bellingham, I notice this. And if I'm using a formation where I need a midfielder to make like really good attacking runs, use Jude Bellingham, because for some reason he just has good attacking AI, and he's a physically dominant player out there. Xavi Simons is honestly great. His dribbling is what makes him so good. He's 5'6", so a little bit shorter, right? The height isn't quite there, and I like the height on a lot of these cards right now because physicality is so important. But Xavi Simons is kind of an exception to that, and then Anthony Martial is incredible. Honestly, I was surprised how good Martial is. His shooting is better than that, it seems like, because I think he just gets shooting animations because he is an attacker. Maybe that's kind of why, but he gets way better animations than those, shooting stats suggest. So we got those four, and then we got Buchanan as well. I think it's a card we earned, right? Is that? I don't know if you can get Buchanan at the market or anything like that, but he's amazing, surprisingly so. There's a lot of box-to-box midfielders that will do a great job for you, right? Not just these five, but the reason these five are like S tier for me, Zidane and Bellingham I kind of went into, but Xavi Simons gets like crazy dribbling animations that most other cards are not going to get for you. Martial, great shooting animations, and Buchanan has base 99 pace. So a chem style will really put numbers on this card in the midfield, right? And that's kind of what you have to differentiate right now. A lot of cards have wonderful stats. It's animations, and like body type is a huge factor, and that's kind of what you have to differentiate and sort through right now when you're trying to find the best players in the game. Now we have attacking midfielders and wingers and left mid, right mid, strikers, left, right. Kind of what I'm going to do with this, honestly, is just fill out all of the attackers at the same time, because at this time of year, you can play almost any card in any role, and it'll be great. So here we go. Here are my S tier attackers. Now, there's a lot of attackers right now in FIFA, because they're all so juiced out, it's hard to leave some of them out. There are probably more in here that on another day will make this list, so if you don't see your favorite player, don't freak out. He's probably fantastic, but these are the cards that, if I was playing for money, are going to end up being probably in my team, right, or in consideration for it. These five right here are very obvious, right? R9, Ronaldinho, Henry, Mbappe, Benzema. Those are kind of without question going to be in your top players no matter what. Marcus Rashford, though, I did pack him, and I do actually think he is good enough to be in this S tier. Ignore the golden games and almost all these cards that I played in the FUTTIES Cup, and it doesn't like track stats, which I don't know why it doesn't do that. But Marcus Rashford was awesome. I love his card this year. Actually, usually I don't love Rashford cards in FIFA. This year, he is S tier in my opinion. Wayne Rooney, also, by the way, use him as my right center mid a lot of the time, but as a striker, as anywhere you want to put this guy. Surprised at how good he is, and you might actually see a few on this list that are not going to be inclusions. I'm going to talk to you about why they're not on this list in a little bit here. Ginola, I packed the FUTTIES Ginola. Outstanding. And you'll see a theme as well with these cards that they will almost all have high physical, because those right now are ridiculous. Those cards right now are ridiculous. I still think Team Season Erling Haaland is S tier. Honestly, I still do. I think this card is crazy. It came out months ago, and I honestly still think he is just elite. Paul Pogba Shapeshifters, another absolutely elite card. Pros use him. If you haven't got the chance to try him, go try him out. And Kunku is one of the few TOTS cards I still think is very usable. I think he's fantastic as well. An attacking midfielder, and Kunku is just perfect for that role. FUTTIES Alaweron. You don't need me to tell you this card is insane. Antoine Griezmann, crazy animations. One of my favorite things about this card is he gets such great shooting animations that I can't really explain that make him so good. And he actually has decent physical stats, which really, really helps him. Di Natale is the first card in this list that does not have like great physical stats. He's the exception for me. I don't know what it is about Di Natale. Another card that just gets great shooting animations. I'm not exactly sure why that is the case, but he really does. Samuel Eto'o, 5'5", outstanding card. These bottom three you might be surprised by. Not by Petr Cech. I shouldn't say that. You don't be surprised by Petr Cech at all. all. This card is S tier. It'll be S tier until the end of time. Cody Gakpo, though, pleasantly surprised by. I thought he was great, and I think the reason being 6'2", high physicals, finesse shot, outside foot, and right now high physicals and high pace is going to be great. So Gakpo is actually borderline S tier for me, and then Antonio Rudiger also is like the 5-star weak foot version of Petr Cech. If you want to R-trigger merchants, go right ahead and go buy yourself Antonio Rudiger because he will do that job for you massively. Now, there's a few attackers in this list that some of you probably will say are S tier that are not on this list, and the first two that you probably are noticing immediately, or first few that you maybe are noticing that are not in here. FUTTIES Vinicius, a level 40 reward. I think he's just a little bit too weak. I actually don't think he's quite S tier. I really don't think so. I think just there are certain players right now that are just getting bodied off the ball too much, in my opinion, that when you're in the elite stages of champs, you know, I think for 90% of the games I play, Vinicius is going to be plenty good enough. Don't get me wrong. Like, this card still is great, but the issue is when you're playing in those 60-0 FUT champs games against a great defender who's got Van Dijk and Konate in your back line, Vinny just has such a hard time against those guys, and that's why I also don't have a 99 Pele in there either. Physical is very important, and just he doesn't quite get the speed boost you would expect that a Marcus Rashford does, a Ginola does, Ronaldinho 99. Those cards get crazy speed boosts that this Pele just doesn't quite get. Yes, this Pele card is still great, but he's just not quite, I would say, S tier. If I was playing for money, I don't think Pele makes my team, and that sounds crazy, but it's just how it is right now at the end of the year. There's a couple I left off here because of pure sample size. Messi, I've not used. FUTTIES Messi, just too expensive. And FUTTIES Ronaldo, I used during a FUT draft, and I thought he was good, but I actually was like, he kind of felt like his team of the season to me. He gets like good speed boosts, which is good, but I always think, yeah, it's 90 agility, 83 balance. Maybe you need an engine on him. I couldn't obviously pick a chem style and draft, so I kind of left these two off because like I just haven't been able to use them enough, so I don't really want to add them, and I don't know if they're actually elite because most years they're going to be elite. This year though, I'm not too sure. Grinch, I didn't say, same problem as him with Pele, right? And also this new Gavu card who has 99 pace, 99 shot, 99 dribbling. I haven't used him either, so I don't want to say anything about Gavu. If you've used him, please let me know if you think he deserves to be on this attacker list. So here are all the attackers and the box-to-box midfielders on the bottom down there that I think are going to be S tier and that you really are going to want in your team, and then we'll go back to the defenders down here. Defenders and defensive midfielders I think you are going to want on your team if you're trying to, you know, make a push for high finishes in FUT champs for the last part of the year. Now, once again, there are cards that are fantastic that are not on this list. There's just so many cards right now that it's hard to differentiate from all of them. I try and pick the ones that I've noticed myself differentiating from slightly, whether it be animations, body type, or whatever. Let me know who all your favorite players are, and I love you all. Thanks for the over soon. Peace.